My wife said she never wanted kids, until I found a photo album that proved she already had one. Why do I look like you? He asked her, and that's when everything collapsed. She lied for 11 years, hid her son, and called him her nephew. Hey Reddit, I honestly don't even know how to begin this. My hands are still shaking a bit while typing. I feel like the ground just dropped under my feet, and the more I think about it, the more confused and angry I get. I, 36M, have been married to my wife Claire, 34F, for a little over 7 years. We met in our late 20s, clicked instantly, and honestly, it felt like a dream back then. She's smart, charming, funny, the kind of woman who lights up any room. We got married after 2 years of dating, and I really thought we were building a solid life together. One of the things I always looked forward to was starting a family. I grew up in a big, chaotic, loving household. I had this dream of passing that on. The mess, the laughter, the Saturday morning pancakes with toddlers jumping on the couch. Claire and I talked about it early on, and she always said, definitely someday, just not right now. That was fine. Totally fine. We were still young. We wanted to travel, focus on our careers, enjoy our time together. I respected that. She was clear that she wasn't ready, and I didn't want to pressure her. I just assumed we were working toward that day eventually. But here's the thing. Someday kept getting pushed further and further away. First, she wanted to wait until we bought a house. Fair. Then it was when she got her promotion. Okay. Then it was the world's too messed up right now. And then something about wanting to get her body in the best shape first. I mean, I was patient. I really was. But after 5, 6, 7 years, it started feeling like I was chasing a carrot on a stick. Around our 6th anniversary, I brought it up more seriously. I told her, I think I'm ready. I've been ready for a while. Are we still on the same page about kids? She got quiet. Uncomfortable quiet. Said something like, I don't know if I ever really saw myself as a mom. That hit me like a truck. I said, what? But we talked about this. And she cut me off. No, you talked about it. I said I wasn't sure. You assumed. From there it spiraled. We argued. I felt betrayed. Lied to. I mean, how do you go through 7 years of marriage thinking you're building towards something, and then find out it was never even on her radar? She apologized afterward, kind of. Said she just wasn't ready to face that part of herself. That maybe she wanted to want kids, but deep down she knew she wasn't built for it. She even brought up how selfish it would be to bring a child into the world if she wasn't fully committed. It sounded like she was trying to be noble, but to me, it just sounded like excuses. I spent the next few weeks in this weird limbo, still sleeping beside her every night, but feeling like a stranger, looking at her and wondering how much of our life was real, wondering what other things she kept from me. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not friends, not family. I was embarrassed. I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding that got blown up too big. But there was this nagging voice in the back of my head. Like, something wasn't adding up. Her reactions, her defensiveness, it wasn't just fear of motherhood. It felt like guilt. And that feeling wouldn't go away. I had no idea back then how right I was, or how deep the lie actually went. But all of that didn't come out until the attic. So yeah, after that whole blow-up, things got weird between Claire and me. We didn't exactly fight all the time, but there was this unspoken tension hanging around. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone you love, but everything feels fake? That was our everyday. I stopped bringing up kids. I honestly didn't have the energy. I was just tired. I felt like the foundation of our marriage had cracks in it I didn't notice before. But that little voice in my head, that gut feeling, kept whispering, she's hiding something. Fast forward a month or so. Claire went out of town for the weekend to visit her mom. I stayed back because I had a work thing, and, truthfully, I needed space. And here's where it starts. I was cleaning up the guest bedroom closet when I noticed this stack of boxes labeled old college stuff and junk, don't open. Naturally, I opened them. Most of it was boring. Old notebooks, junk mail, worn-out sweaters. But behind those boxes, shoved against the back of the closet wall, I noticed the attic hatch. We barely go up there. I think I've been up twice since we moved in. But I had this weird itch to look around. And yeah, I know how that sounds. Like I was looking for secrets. Maybe I was. I pulled down the hatch ladder and went up. The attic was mostly insulation, old Christmas decorations, and boxes. But one corner caught my eye. It was neater, more organized. Almost too organized. I found a small, taped-up box labeled books. When I opened it, there were no books. Just a single photo album. No writing on it, no names. Just a plain black leather cover. And inside, that's when everything started unraveling. Photo after photo of Claire, holding a baby. In some, she looked younger, maybe early 20s. She was smiling, cradling this tiny newborn. In others, the baby was a bit older, a chubby toddler with curly brown hair and the biggest eyes I've ever seen. It wasn't just one or two photos. It was a full album. First birthday, messy cake face, playground slides, Halloween costumes. All of it. And not a single picture of me. Not one. I didn't recognize the kid. At all. And then I saw it, tucked in the back sleeve of the album. A birth certificate. And there it was. Mother's name, Claire, last name. Father, left blank. Child's name, Ethan. Born, 11 years ago. Different state. I just sat there. In the dark attic. Heart racing. Reading it over and over like maybe I was hallucinating. Like maybe there was another Claire, last name. And it was all some insane mix-up. But it wasn't. It was my wife. She had a child. A whole-ass child. And never told me. Not once. I felt like I was losing my mind. I started pacing around the attic like some detective, half laughing, half panicking. I mean, how? How do you hide something like this from someone you sleep next to every night? I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch with the photo album on the table, staring at it like it would answer my questions. The next day, Claire came home. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because suddenly, I didn't want to just ask questions. I wanted answers. Real ones. Not more vague excuses or some carefully worded half-truth. And that's when I decided I was going to find out everything. With or without her help. Part 3's coming. And yeah, it only gets messy, eh? I didn't know what to do with myself after finding that photo album. I felt like I was living in someone else's house. Like I'd stumbled into a movie set of my own life and suddenly realized I wasn't the main character anymore. Hell, maybe I never was. Claire had a kid. A kid who would have been around 11 years old now. 11. That means she had him a few years before we met. It wasn't like she cheated or anything, I think. But still, this was a massive, life-altering truth. And she hid it like it was a receipt from Target. At first, I thought maybe she had the baby and gave him up for adoption. That seemed like the only possible explanation. Like, okay, maybe it was traumatic. Maybe she never recovered emotionally. Maybe that's why she didn't want more kids. I wanted to believe that. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I messaged Claire's old college friend, Julia. We met a couple times at weddings and holidays. She was nice, kind of quiet, but always respectful. I told her it was important, private, and I just needed to ask something about Claire's past. At first, she tried to brush me off. Said, you should talk to Claire about this. But I told her what I found. Not everything, just that I knew about Ethan. The silence on the phone was loud. Then Julia let out this long breath and said, she never told you? My stomach dropped. Turns out, Claire got pregnant in her final year of college. The guy she was dating ghosted her. Total deadbeat. She didn't want to get an abortion, but she also wasn't ready to be a mom. It was a huge mess. According to Julia, Claire was seriously struggling. Depressed. Isolated. Her parents weren't very supportive. Classic, you've ruined your future types. So after Ethan was born, Claire gave him to her sister. Her freaking sister. Not adoption. Not foster care. Not even an official custody transfer at first. She just handed him over. Julia said she always thought Claire would eventually take him back, once she got her life together. But it never happened. Instead, Claire moved out of state, started fresh, and buried that entire part of her life. And then she met me. I hung up the phone in shock. I couldn't believe it. My wife had a whole human child who is still alive, being raised by her own family, and I never knew he existed. So I did what any idiot with too much time and Wi-Fi would do. I stalked. I found Claire's sister on Facebook. Not hard, we're friends on there. I never paid much attention to her posts. But this time, I looked closer. And sure enough, there he was. Ethan, 11 years old. Same eyes as Claire. Same nose. Same smile. In one post, her sister called him the best nephew anyone could ask for. But in another, I saw a short video. A birthday party. And clear as day, Ethan says, thanks for the gift, Mama Claire. Mama. Claire. I swear my heart stopped. So now I'm sitting on this bombshell. Claire's been seeing this kid. Staying in touch. Playing some kind of second mom role in secret. She didn't give him up and move on. She's been involved in his life this whole time, just not openly. And meanwhile, I spent years sitting across the table from her, dreaming about starting a family, and getting fed the same vague excuses while her actual son exists just a few towns over. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or laugh. Honestly, I did all three. And still, I haven't confronted her yet. Because I'm scared. Scared of what she'll say. Scared of how deep the lies go. But that ends tonight. She's home. And we're talking. One way or another, I'm getting the truth. So that night, I waited for Claire to come home like some kind of ticking bomb. I couldn't sit still. Kept pacing the living room, holding that damn photo album like it was evidence in a trial. When she finally walked through the door, she looked tired. Normal. Like nothing in the world was off. She smiled and said, "Hey babe, how was your day?" And I couldn't fake it anymore. I didn't say hi. I didn't ask how her mom was. I put the album on the kitchen counter and slid it toward her. She looked at it, then at me. Didn't touch it. Didn't open it. Just stood there. Her face drained of all color. I said, "I found it. In the attic. I saw the photos. I saw the birth certificate. I know about Ethan." She didn't deny it. She didn't play dumb. She just whispered, "Oh God." Then she sat down. And for the next hour, I just listened. I didn't interrupt. Didn't yell. I wanted the full story. No more half-truths. No more dodges. Claire got pregnant at 22. Final year of college. The guy was older, mid-30s, and bailed as soon as she told him. She tried to hide it from everyone at first. When her parents found out, they flipped. They told her she was throwing her life away, that no man would ever want a single mom. She had Ethan in secret, more or less. She stayed with her sister for a while after giving birth, completely wrecked physically and mentally. She said she didn't bond with him. Felt numb. Couldn't look at him without feeling like she ruined everything. Her sister, Maggie, stepped up, helped take care of the baby when Claire couldn't even get out of bed. Weeks turned into months. Maggie got more attached. And one day, she asked if Claire would consider letting her raise him permanently. And Claire said yes. She said she felt like she was drowning, and that letting Maggie raise Ethan felt like handing him to someone who could breathe. Eventually, her parents stepped in. Formal custody transfer. New last name. Ethan would be better off this way, they said. No need to complicate his life with confusing truths. Claire moved away. Started fresh. Met me a few years later. But she never stopped seeing Ethan. Birthday gifts. Christmas visits. Summer trips. Aunt Claire, who came to visit from out of town. Sometimes she saw him once a month. Sometimes less. But she always showed up. "He thinks I'm his aunt," she said. "He doesn't know?" No one ever told him. I asked her, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Because I was afraid if I told you, you'd leave. And because if I admitted it out loud, it would mean I really gave him up. I didn't want to be that woman. The one who walked away from her child. That wrecked me. Because I believed her. And I hated that I did. She wasn't a monster. She was just broken. And terrified. But that didn't make it okay. I told her, "You didn't just lie by omission, Claire. You built our whole marriage on this lie. And you sat next to me for years while I talked about wanting to be a dad, when you already were a mom." She said she thought about telling me 100 times. But every time, the lie had gotten bigger. Too big. She didn't know how to fix it without losing me. And now, I don't even know if we can fix it. So that's where we are now. Two people sitting in the same house, but on opposite sides of a giant hole in the floor. I haven't made any decisions yet. I don't know if this is something you can come back from. But the thing I can't stop thinking about is this. There's a kid out there who doesn't know his mom is right there. And I don't know if that's her secret to keep anymore. I wish I could say things got clearer after Claire's confession. Like once all the cards were on the table, we could finally start fixing things. But nah, it just got messy, eh? For a few days after that talk, I barely spoke to her. I didn't know how. Every time I looked at her, I saw two versions. The woman I married and the stranger who left a piece of her life buried in a goddamn attic. And meanwhile, she was a wreck. Crying on and off. Pacing. Not eating much. I could tell she wasn't just scared about us. She was scared about Ethan. About everything unraveling. One night, I asked her the thing that had been eating me alive. "Do you want to tell him?" She went silent. Then said, "Every part of me wants to. But if I do, I blow up his whole world." Apparently, no one ever told Ethan the truth. Not her sister Maggie. Not their parents. Not anyone. To him, Claire is just the cool aunt who sends funny birthday cards and takes him to the zoo sometimes. And she said part of her selfishly liked it that way. She got to have some piece of him, without the responsibility, without the guilt. But that guilt's been building for years. And now that I know, it's no longer just her secret. Here's the worst part. I started seeing Ethan differently. I couldn't help it. I looked through Claire's sister's Facebook again, and this time it wasn't like stalking, it felt like checking in on family. I found a video of Ethan at his school's science fair, explaining this goofy volcano project. And I laughed. And then I cried. Because that kid? He could have been mine. I started imagining what life would have looked like if Claire had kept him, if I had met him, raised him. Then I started wondering what kind of dad I'd be to a kid who didn't know I existed in his life until now. We started therapy after that. Real therapy. Couples counseling. Painful, awkward, uncomfortable. Claire cried through half the first session. I mostly sat there with my arms crossed. But over time, the tension started peeling back. Little by little, we had conversations I never thought we'd have. About grief. About guilt. About what being a parent really means. And eventually, about whether or not we should tell Ethan the truth. Claire's sister isn't thrilled about it. She says he's happy, stable, loved, and she doesn't want to confuse him. But I think not knowing the truth might be worse. Because one day, he's going to look in the mirror and wonder why he doesn't look like his mom. He already does. And that's where we are now. Caught between past and future. Between lies and truth. Claire's working on writing a letter to Ethan. Just in case. A way to explain everything in her own words. She's not ready to send it yet. I don't blame her. But I don't think this secret can stay buried forever. We're not okay yet. Not really. But for the first time in weeks, I see something. Not hope, exactly, but maybe a road back. It's cracked and shaky and full of sharp turns. But it's there. And if we ever make it through this, it'll be because we stopped lying to each other and to ourselves. It's been a few months since everything came out. We're still married, still in therapy, still figuring out how to breathe in the same room without all the weight crushing us. Some days are good, some aren't. But there's movement. Claire's changed. Not in a new haircut, new person kind of way. More like she's awake now. Before, she always had this kind of emotional armor, like she was just trying to survive. But now, for better or worse, she's stripped down. Raw, honest. And she sees Ethan more. Not just as Aunt Claire, doing the birthday drop-off and disappearing again. She's present. Offers to help with homework. Picks him up from school sometimes. Plays board games. And me? Yeah, I met him. Maggie didn't love the idea, but she finally said, if you're going to be in Claire's life, I guess it makes sense. We played it off like I was Aunt Claire's husband. And Ethan? He's an easy kid to like. Smart. A little shy. Has this habit of raising one eyebrow when he's curious, just like Claire. The first time we hung out, I brought a model rocket kit. Thought it'd be a cool, fun activity thing. Ethan spent an hour asking about how propulsion works. I told Claire afterward, okay, he's officially cooler than me. But then came that moment. It was a regular Saturday. We were watching a movie on the couch. Me, Claire, Maggie, and Ethan. Claire had dozed off next to him, and I was half watching from the armchair. Out of nowhere, Ethan turned to Maggie and asked, hey, why do I look more like Aunt Claire than you? The room went silent. Just absolutely still. Maggie stammered something like, oh, genetics are weird sometimes, and tried to brush it off. But Ethan just looked at Claire. She was pretending to still be asleep, but I could see it. Her jaw tightened. He looked at her for a long second, then looked at me. And I swear to God, I saw it. That flicker. That knowing. Kids aren't stupid. They don't need a DNA test to feel when something isn't quite right. And in that moment, I knew. It's not about if he finds out. It's about when and how. So now we wait. Claire hasn't told him yet. Not officially. But I think the letter is ready. It's sitting in her drawer. I read it once, when she wasn't home. It's short, honest, beautiful, in a heartbreaking way. It ends with, I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to be brave. I hope someday, you can forgive me for not being ready. I'm ready now. I don't know what Ethan's future will look like after he reads it. I don't know what ours will look like, either. But I do know this. Sometimes families aren't made by blood, or by the plan you thought you had. Sometimes they're made by the hard choice to show up. Late, messy, broken, and still stay.